Hey, so for those of you guys who were in class today, I'm going to make this short tutorial on how to do the lab. Um, so before we do, I changed up the calendar a little bit. So we are doing a solubility lab today, and then we'll go into molarity on Wednesday and Thursday. The objectives for the lab is to be able to define solubility, supersaturated and unsaturated, determine the solubility of a salt, draw a solubility curve, and find unknowns on a solubility curve. Okay, so there were three factors that affect dissolution, and we talked about that last week. So one is temperature, two is surface area, and three is mixing rate. Okay, so you want to keep those in mind. Temperature is going to be the biggest factor that affects the dissolution and solubility. Okay, so I want you to read the pre-lab discussion. So you can read that here. You can also find it on in the content. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to watch this video, and there's a link in the content as well to this video. This video is going to go through step by step of the lab, and instead of you actually performing it, you're just going to watch this guy perform it. You need to pay attention. He's got 4 test tubes, and you need to pay attention to how many grams of solute he has in each test tube. Okay, so you're going to write that down. You might want to write test tube 1, test tube 2, test tube 3, test tube 4, how many grams are in each test tube. And then as what he's going to do is he's going to put his solute in, and then he's going to add solvent. He's going to put all of his test tubes back here in a boiling water bath until the solutes dissolve. And then he's going to pull them out one by one and put them into this ice bath. And he's going to cool each solution down until crystals start to form. Once crystals start to form, that is the saturation point. And he's going to tell you the temperature at what each test tube met at saturation point. And so you need to write that down. So what was the temperature for test tube 1? What was the temperature for test tube 2, 3, and 4? You've got to write that down because there's questions on the quiz about this. Okay, then you need to use proportions to convert 2 grams and 5 mils into, like, what would be proportionate if you had 100 mils. Well, you take 5 mils divided by 100, that gives you 20, that gives you your ratio, and so you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 20, so you do 20 times 2 is 40, 20 times 2 or 20 times 5 is 100. So you would have 40 grams right here per 100 mils. That is the equivalent of 2 grams per 5 mils. You're going to do that for all 4 of your samples. And the reason you're going to do that is so that you can construct a solubility curve. So this is the temperature, okay, that you need to have from what he tells you is the solubility for each test tube. Okay, and then so let's just say at 10 degrees, our test tube 1 met its solution point. Okay, came out of solution. So we would put a dot right here at 40, and then maybe our curve went really steep like this after you plot all 4 points. Once you have your solubility curve, you need to come and answer these questions here. So at 30 degrees, about how many grams of solute does it take for that solution to be soluble or in solution? So you're going to come over here to 30 degrees. You're going to follow it up until you hit your curve, and then that's how many grams of solute the solvent can hold at 30 degrees. Okay, and so you'll need to do that for 30, 60, and 70 degrees. Then you also need to define the terms saturated, unsaturated, and supersaturated. Saturated is the point at which no more solid can dissolve in a liquid. Unsaturated means that more solute can be added to the solvent. And supersaturated is a solution that contains more solute that exists in a saturated solution at room temperature. So pretty much just like if we were talking sugar in water, you can dissolve more sugar in warm water than you can at room temperature water. And so we would say that's a supersaturated solution. So you need to know those 3 definitions. Okay, So again, you can find this link to the video in the content, the lab reports in the content. I do not want the lab report submitted. You need to write your observations and your answers on the lab report, and then you need to go and answer the questions for 2.04 lab quiz. Okay, they're going to have the same questions on the lab report. I'm just still grading Unit 1 lab, and so I didn't want another lab report that I have to grade. So I made it into a quiz, and then that way you get an instant grade. So if you still don't understand, please let me know, and let me know if you have any questions.